What stopped you from committing suicide? My little brother. A. I'm not in a rush. The rope broke. Perspectives of the future. My best friend, yesterday. My mom. Everything else seemed hopeless. I felt like I was a shit stain on humanity. I'd done so many unforgivable things, but I knew at the end of the day she didn't care about any of that as long as she knew I was safe. I knew it would devastate and break her as a human, and no matter how many terrible things I'd felt like I'd done, that would by far be the worst. I'm glad I had the presence of mind to remember that during my darkest times. Things are a lot better for me now, as people always assured me they would be. I didn't believe them, but they were right. I'm glad I held on. I pulled the trigger and it didn't work. I was too drunk to remember how to take the safety off. When I sobered up, I realized how close I got, stopped the drinking, went back to the gym and started rebuilding my broken life again. I was hungry. I was at an all-time low. After years of trying, my mom finally got pregnant, then had a miscarriage on her first trimester due to a medical condition. They can still have one, just need to be very careful. One thing that barely kept me going was the fact they needed me more than ever. When I got a job and I came home after my first day, my little cousin came with to pick me up and kept saying he missed me. It makes me smile to this day. When I'm with my friends I smile a lot. I feel like I belong somewhere. I'm still low but I'm getting better thanks to everyone. Spite. Also, my mother would make my funeral somehow about her. I will not allow that to happen. My family, including my nephew. They would be devastated if I died all of a sudden, especially to suicide. BC, the pills didn't kill me. My dog. Every single day. I finally told my wife how I was feeling and she blew me off. Her friend had a parent die earlier that year. I reached out to her, a hollow broken man, and she rebuilt me. Gun jammed. Well, some books I want to read. Got some shit to do, can't die in. I can't say I have ever been close doing it, but I have thought about it many times. But honestly, my mom is one of the biggest reason. She has always been there for me even when our lives were pretty hard, and I can't make her go through that. I'd really know what did for myself, but when I thought about going there with it or actually wanting to, it felt like there was an unknown force or voice telling me not to and just keep going in life. Like something wanted me to keep going, telling it's going get better. Which it did, and now I'm better than ever been, but this year has been a nightmare. Lucky I have friends who help me and a girlfriend as well. BoJack Horseman, The View from Halfway Down. Really made me think about it and pushed me to get help. The thought that there is always something over the next hill and I have to live until my last breath to see it. That thought alone is enough to keep me going. Psychedelics and Bitcoin. I thought there was no future for me because inflation was so high. I could see a way that I could eventually own a house in a part of the country I would tolerate, but after learning about the principles of Bitcoin it completely reframed my perspective. Also psychedelics because it let me be open-minded enough to go down the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Pride and retribution. My mother said she and my father would end their life if I ended mine. Finding out my daughter was pregnant and I didn't want her to raise a child motherless like her mom did. My kids. I was standing on my apartment window, 6th floor, and I just didn't have it in me to hurt my parents and all the other people that care for me. I knew that the pain I felt at the moment would have been nothing compared to theirs if I jumped. We are a DID system, so when I tried to commit, another alter switched in and saved me. This happened multiple times. Never have we been saved by someone else, always ourselves. You can't die when another of you doesn't agree or fears death. Dull knife. Used it so much to self-harm it lost its edge. The thoughts of it still run through my head. Not done it yet because I feel like Terry's some kind of hope. But I feel like at any moment anything can happen. I promised my parents I'd never do it again after a failed attempt. I had a truly disturbing dream once. Involved a knife to the neck. Essentially my dream simulated exactly what it would feel like to cut yourself, bleed out, slowly fade. And well, fuck that. I made sure it would be virtually impossible for me to go through with something like that after that nightmare. Turns out bottle of Excedrin PM isn't really lethal. I swallowed it and took off down the street. It kicked in quickly on an empty stomach. A cop found me by a freeway on-ramp and got me an ambulance. I was pretty affected, couldn't really talk to the medics, but I was fine after a day in hospital. So, more of a failed attempt, but I'm grateful. Afterward I had clarity and knew I'd never try to take my life again. My best friend. When I was going through a really abusive and hard breakup, I wanted to die. I was so humiliated and was scared my parents would find out. She was there for me and still is here with me today. We've been friends since middle school, we're both out of high school with associate's degrees. She has a lovely BF and I do too. We've looked out for each other for over 6 to 7 years. I have my will because of her. My fear of death always overpowers any and all thoughts of suicide, no matter how bad things get. I failed both times. Not wanting to put my parents through it. But now we're not speaking, so I suppose there's nothing stopping me anymore. Something a friend said to me. It's cliché, but my oldest son. Had I not found out I was pregnant when I did, I wouldn't be here. I love my kids so much, all of them equally, but my oldest gave me a reason to live when I had none. I'm in a much better place now. Financially, mentally, and physically. But that little boy changed my whole world for the better. I would do anything for my babies. I am so happy I stayed. The moment I realized, I have a family to live for. About a half minute before I've wanted to do it, I remembered every positive thing about them and that I can be a better me if I'm going to therapy. The therapy wasn't a little bit of fun, but today I feel much better and I'm happy to say that this topic is a part of my past. I thought of how it would affect my family. My mom would likely have been the one to find me at the time and that would destroy her. Both my parents love me and would be devastated regardless of who found me. I may argue with my sister, but she'd be heartbroken if something happened to me, and that's mutual. So I thought of how much I hurt in the moment versus how much hurt it would cause if I were to go through with it, and decided my own hurt wasn't bad enough to warrant putting the people I care about through that much hurt. So I endured for others. It may not be the best reason, but it kept me around until I got help and I'm doing much better now. I've thought about it a few times, due to stress. But I've never let it beat me down completely. My friend killed himself and the fallout from that made sure I didn't want to die. Nothing yet. I have a ton of chronic pain and I'm 21. Friends and my mom. Hopefully whatever it is will stop getting the way. Meaningless life is meaningless. Nothing. At least twice it was nothing. Now, my dog. He's my world. And therapy helps a lot. Religion. I was having an existential crisis really badly and had found the meaning of life in God. Also losing a lot of weight, I guess. I was severely overweight. Music. Life must go on, Quinn. Stand tall, dirty heads. Jump a third eye blind. Little things, Louis the Child. My holiday, Bryce Vine. Etc. My son. One fam member and my pets. The ground, I wasn't high enough and screwed my wrists instead. Damn it, 12-year me, I am dealing with this shit because of your failure. At least do it right, person face palming. Turned out all my prescription blood pressure and cholesterol lowering meds weren't gonna do the trick. Roommate called 911. Few years later, I drank about a half a cup of antifreeze, then changed my mind and called 911 myself. I didn't put so the commit never went through. My family dealing with the aftermath. Especially my 10-year-old sister. But God, is it not tempting every day? Knowing that my dog would always wonder where I went and my son thinking loving him wasn't enough to stay alive. Thought of my mom crying. I didn't want to be remembered as the uni girl who offed herself because she caught her fiancé of 5 years cheating on her. Shit hurt, but I kept crawling until I could stand, and I've now reached the point of being able to move on and date again. Took a year, but I'm still going. My little sister, I was 18, she was 14. I texted some family and friends a quick "I love you guys" before taking 4 bottles of pills. She called me because she said she had a weird feeling. Just her calling me and saying she missed me is what made me go to the hospital. I love her, she's gone through so much, and it's sad to say I've put a lot of trauma on her from this event. I know she's never really been the same tbh, and I can't help but to feel at fault. My younger brother. And #X200B. I had a great older brother when I was a kid. I knew that a small boy needs a brother, especially an older brother, to look up to. And I wasn't gonna leave him without somebody to confide in and look up to.